When we talk about the NBA draft, we often remember the moments of pure joy, the dreams realized, and the beginnings of legendary careers. But every so often, a moment comes along that leaves everyone from the fans in the seats to the analysts on set completely stunned. That was the scene back in 2013 when the Cleveland Cavaliers were on the clock with the number 1 overall pick. Names like Victor Oladipo and Nerlens Noel were swirling around as the likely choices. Instead, the commissioner walked to the podium and announced a name that sent a ripple of disbelief through the entire basketball world: Anthony Bennett. Even Bennett himself looked genuinely surprised by the selection. The decision was a gamble from the very start, a true head-scratcher for a team desperately needing a cornerstone to build around. Bennett, a talented forward from UNLV, had shown flashes of potential during his single year in college, but very few, if any, serious mock drafts had him going first overall. He was seen as a solid prospect, perhaps a top 10 pick, but certainly not the consensus best player available. The live television reaction from my colleagues, with jaws dropped and a collective "whoa" echoing in the studio, perfectly captured the sentiment of the night. It was a pick that immediately invited scrutiny and placed an immense, perhaps unfair amount of pressure on the young Canadian's shoulders. This wasn't just a slight reach, it was a leap of faith that defied conventional wisdom. The Cavaliers' front office saw something in Bennett that others didn't, a unique combination of size and shooting touch that they believed could translate into a modern-day power forward. They envisioned a player who could stretch the floor and create matchup problems for opposing defenses. The problem with such a bold, unexpected move is that it leaves no room for error. When you go against the grain and select a player at number 1, that player is expected to deliver immediately and validate the team's unorthodox choice in a big way. From that moment forward, Anthony Bennett's career would be viewed through the lens of that shocking draft night. He wasn't just another rookie trying to find his way in the league. He was the surprise number 1 pick who had to prove he belonged at the very top. The weight of that expectation is a heavy burden for any young athlete to carry, and it became the defining narrative of his professional journey before he even stepped onto an NBA court for the first time. The stage was set, the spotlight was blindingly bright, and the world was watching to see if Cleveland had unearthed a hidden gem or made a historic mistake. The transition from college basketball to the professional ranks is a challenge for every rookie, but for Anthony Bennett, it proved to be an insurmountable hurdle. Concerns began to surface almost immediately when he arrived at his first training camp, reportedly overweight and not in the physical condition required to compete at the highest level. This immediately put him behind the 8 ball as he struggled with his stamina and had difficulty keeping up with the pace and intensity of NBA practices and games. The league is unforgiving, and any sign of weakness, especially from a number 1 pick, gets magnified under the intense scrutiny of coaches, media, and fans alike. His struggles on the court were glaring and became a recurring storyline throughout his debut season. It took him 5 full games just to score his first basket, a stretch where he missed his first 16 shot attempts. This was not the start anyone envisioned for a player chosen to lead a franchise's revival. He looked lost, hesitant, and completely overwhelmed by the speed and physicality of his opponents. Instead of showcasing the offensive firepower that made him a top pick, he often seemed a step too slow, unable to create space for his shot or finish effectively around the rim, leading to a profound lack of confidence that was visible every time he played. The statistics from his rookie year tell a story of profound underachievement. In 52 games with the Cavaliers, Bennett never once cracked the starting lineup, averaging a meager 4.2 points and 3.0 rebounds in just over 12 minutes per contest. These numbers are not just disappointing for a number 1 pick, they are numbers you would expect from a player at the very end of a team's bench. He failed to make any meaningful impact, and the team that had invested so much hope in him quickly realized their gamble was not paying off. It was a historically poor performance that set the tone for the rest of his short-lived NBA career. By the end of that first year, the narrative was already set in stone. The surprise of draft night had given way to the deep disappointment of his on-court performance. The Cavaliers, realizing their error, included him in a trade package to the Minnesota Timberwolves after just 1 season, a remarkably quick admission of failure for a top overall selection. His time in Cleveland was over before it ever truly began, marking the start of a journey that would see him bounce from team to team, never finding a place to stick and live up to that once promising potential. What solidifies Anthony Bennett's status as the ultimate draft bust isn't just his own lack of production. It's also the incredible talent that was overlooked in the 2013 NBA draft. While the Cavaliers took a chance on Bennett, future superstars were waiting in the wings. The most notable example is Giannis Antetokounmpo, a raw but immensely gifted prospect from Greece, who was selected with the 15th pick. Giannis would go on to become a two-time MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, and an NBA champion, blossoming into one of the most dominant forces the game has ever seen. The contrast between his trajectory and Bennett's is as stark as it gets. But Giannis wasn't the only star to emerge from that draft class. Rudy Gobert, a defensive mastermind from France, was taken with the 27th pick and has since won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, anchoring elite defenses for years. Even the player taken directly after Bennett, Victor Oladipo, went on to become a multi-time All-Star and a dynamic two-way guard before injuries altered his career. When you measure Bennett's output against the All-NBA talent that was available later in the draft, the magnitude of the Cavaliers' misstep becomes painfully clear and difficult to defend. It was a franchise-altering mistake of epic proportions. Of course, the NBA has seen other high-profile draft busts. Names like Kwame Brown, Michael Olowokandi, and the injury-plagued Greg Oden are often part of the conversation. However, Bennett's case feels unique. While Brown and Olowokandi underwhelmed, they still managed to carve out long careers as serviceable role players, lasting a decade or more in the league. Oden's story is more tragic, as his body simply couldn't withstand the rigors of the sport, with devastating injuries robbing him of a chance to showcase his immense talent. Bennett, on the other hand, was neither a long-term role player nor a victim of catastrophic injury. His failure was purely one of performance and fit. He played just 151 games across 4 seasons for 4 different teams, averaging a mere 4.4 points and 3.1 rebounds for his career. He was completely out of the league by the age of 24. No other number 1 pick in the modern era has produced so little in such a short amount of time. He didn't just fail to become a star, he failed to even become a reliable rotation player. This combination of being a surprise pick, his minimal production, his short career, and the Hall of Fame talent drafted after him creates the perfect storm, setting a new, lower benchmark for what it means to be a draft bust. After his final NBA appearance with the Brooklyn Nets during the 2016-17 season, Anthony Bennett's time in the world's premier basketball league came to an unceremonious end. But his professional basketball journey did not stop there. Like many players who find themselves on the outside of the NBA looking in, he transitioned to a career playing overseas, embarking on a nomadic journey across the globe to continue playing the game he loves. This path is a testament to his persistence, even if it's a far cry from the superstardom that was once projected for him on that fateful draft night in 2013. His post-NBA passport includes stamps from a variety of international leagues. He has suited up for teams in Turkey, Israel, Puerto Rico, and most recently Asia. During the 2024 to 2025 season, for instance, he found a home playing for the Formosa Dreamers in Taiwan's P-League Plus. In these leagues, away from the intense glare of the NBA spotlight, Bennett has often found more consistent success, sometimes putting up impressive statistics and reminding people of the talent that made him a lottery prospect in the first place. This chapter of his career is one of redemption on a smaller scale, playing for the love of the game rather than for fame or massive contracts. His story serves as a powerful and cautionary tale for NBA teams and prospects alike. It highlights the immense pressure that comes with being a number 1 pick and shows that raw talent alone is not enough to succeed. Professional sports demand an elite level of dedication, mental fortitude, and a relentless work ethic to overcome adversity. Qualities that, according to former team executives, Bennett struggled to consistently display. His career is a stark reminder that the draft is an inexact science, and even the most coveted pick in the entire process carries no guarantee of success, a lesson that front offices continue to learn from. In the end, Anthony Bennett's legacy in the NBA is sealed. He will forever be remembered, not for what he did, but for what he didn't do. He is the ultimate symbol of a draft pick gone wrong, a benchmark against which all future busts will be measured. While other players from his draft class are celebrated for their championships and individual awards, his name is synonymous with disappointment. It is a tough label to carry, but it is the one that has been cemented by his brief and underwhelming tenure, ensuring his place in the history books for all the wrong reasons.